All right, we are back. This is Best in Boxing live stream. Last time we were on, it was Terrence Crawford's fight against Spence. We were talking about that, and now, of course, we have Jermell Charlo taking on one of the pound for pound best, Canelo Alvarez, in an interesting fight because of the jump up in weight class. We got 154-pound unified champion stepping up to 168 to take on the 168-pound champion, and that's really, for me, the story is that weight class and how Jermell is going to handle that weight class, and the power that Canelo has at that weight. So with us today, we have Jesto, who is a super fan of boxing, very knowledgeable. Invited him onto the show. How's it going, Jesto?
All is well. How you guys doing?
Great. We also have Vince Parra, who is has trained and been in boxing pretty much all his life. Really good boxing trainer, championship boxing trainer. Welcome, Vince. Always great to have your boxing knowledge, for sure.
Good to be here, guys.
And then we also have King Gio, or Giovannie Gonzalez. He is a active professional fighter based out of Stockton. How you doing, Gio?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Nice. I appreciate you coming on. And then we will also have Diego Magdaleno, who's a retired contender boxer, also great knowledge. He will be popping on here shortly. So we will jump right into talking about what's going on. But before we get into this fight, I always get a kick out of the UFC boxing back and forth that these guys have a tendency to do. Actually, we just got Diego, so stand by. Bring in Diego in. What's up, Diego? How you doing? Good.
You guys excited?
Oh, hell yeah. So we have Diego Magdaleno popping in, former contender, retired fighter. Diego, we've got Jesto, who's a super fan, boxing, very knowledgeable, invited him onto the broadcast. Got Vince, and then Giovannie Gonzalez, active fighter out of Stockton right now. So got a lot of boxing knowledge in the house tonight. So before we get in, I was telling the guys before we started, I'm getting a kick out of I've always got a kick out of Dana White and Steven Espinoza going at each other. So a couple weeks ago, Dana White came in after his Mexican Independence Day fight in Las Vegas, which Canelo actually stepped off the date to fight tomorrow, which I thought was pretty big of him to move his fight for the UFC. Basically, Dana came out and said that they had such a good weekend. He goes, I will go that date every year. I don't care if somebody here in town gets the date at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. I'll go in the opposing arena and go head to head the next year. So basically, what he's saying is he wants to go head to head boxing every year. That's a very popular date. He's pushed heavy into Mexico. And here's Steven Espinoza's response yesterday 2 days ago at the press conference. It was kind of a crack up because, like I said, these two like to go at each other.
Undisputed champion against another elite undisputed champion. This is special. It's different. The event on Saturday night will generate a gate of over $20 million. That's a rare feat in combat sports. It's rare in concerts or events of any kind. But this will be the third time in the last 6 months that we've done a gate of $20 million. Again, our third $20 million gate in the last 6 months. To put that in perspective, UFC has never done a gate of $20 million in its entire history. We've done it 3 times since April.
That Showtime might be leaving boxing.
That's incredibly unfortunate. Production of that show is fantastic. The guy who runs Showtime Boxing is a great human being. It's unfortunate to hear this. Fuck Espinoza. And it's about time that shitty product is off the air.
You're sad to see it go, I see.
I love it. It always Dana White's entertaining. You got to give it to him, man. He's a hell of a promoter. But yeah, it was just one of those things where, Espinoza's not lying. I mean, UFC, as big as they've gotten, props to Dana White for making UFC as big as it become. It still doesn't generate the money close to what boxing does. I mean, to do 20 million gates in 1 year. And boxing holds a record. It was Pacquiao, 75, almost $80 million gate. UFC dreams of paydays like that, despite the fact that, Dana wants to go head to head with boxing. Do you guys think he's making a mistake to do that on Mexican Independence Day, which has been Canelo's, and before that it was Mayweather's, and it was always, those 2 fight dates every year. We know boxing is gonna, except for this last September, boxing takes over those dates. So you go first, Jesto. What do you think?
I honestly think that it's just a power move. I think that MMA has gained a lot of attraction over the years. A lot of the boxing fans are now just combat fans, or mixed martial art fans. And I think that boxing has depended on that date or those 2 dates for a certain amount of time. And Dana's like, well, shit, I have a product that's just as good, just as liable, has just as big as a fan base. Why not, try to cut or give me a slice of the pie? I think it's a great business move, to be honest with you. But me as a boxing fan, I know what that means. That means that, it's going to interfere with some of the bigger mega fights that we, over the years have, grown to love. So maybe boxing's, we're not generating as much more money next year or the years to come on those 2 dates. Maybe we have to shuffle and move some things around. I just think Dana White's trying to shake things up. And to be totally honest with you, if you look at it from a business standpoint, it's an excellent move. You know what I'm saying? It's an excellent move because boxing has always depended on those dates for years. You don't even have to think about it. It's going to be a mega fight on those 2 dates. And Dana's putting out just as well produced product. Why not try to tap into some of that market, that fan base? That's what I think.
That's true. What do you think, Vince?
Well, I agree with Justo to some extent. I mean, they're 2 different sports, and there's enough to go around. I mean, if you go to a mega fight in Vegas, and Jesse will tell you this, and there's a mega fight, Canelo fight, you go to the rest of the strip, it's still full. There MMA fights, it's a different fan demographic, and I think it's healthy for competition. I mean, it's, and Dana recognizes that. And yeah, boxing, we do generate so much more money, but we do it at a lesser pace. Dana White will have these shows on the 30th, and then next week he could be in Australia having another world title show. And then after that, he could be over in New York. MMA, they're different. UFC has done a phenomenal job, and Dana's a guy that just likes to shake up the cage. I understand what he's saying from that standpoint, because he does have his UFC Fight Network that works with 360 promotions out here, and they do boxing. They have a couple real good prospects, he still works in boxing. And I think he's just trying to say, just because, you guys have this mega fight, which only happens maybe how many mega fights do we get a year? This will be the 2nd, but is this really a mega fight on the same level as Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence? No, but it's still a high profile fight because it's a pound for pound guy in Canelo. But see, the UFC just has more competitive fight cards, than boxing does, because they'll put a bunch of, and yeah, they're right, they don't generate the same money, but they do very well. I just think it's a different fan, demographic. And it's apples and oranges. If you go to Vegas and you want to go to the UFC Championship fight at T-Mobile, you'll go there. And if there's Canelo's fighting, Benavidez at another, area, whatever, you'll go to that. I think either one will be packed because they're two different fan demographics.
Yeah, that's true. And then Dana's been for probably the past 3 years heavy pushing into Mexico, and the sport has gotten very popular. At the same time, if you look at the layout in boxing, there's Canelo in terms of Mexican fighters, and then there's everyone else, and there's not another big draw of a Mexican national in boxing. So when Canelo retires, I mean, he's got 3 more fights, including this one. Who steps up, right, from those dates? Who's gonna take that? Terrence Crawford's at the end of his career, and so is Canelo. So who are the next big superstars that are going to take over those dates? I mean, could it be Tank? I mean, Tank's probably the biggest, money maker after those two. So who's it going to be? So what do you think, Gio?
I think this affects boxing more than the UFC because the UFC has their own fans. They got their own demographic of fans that sell out these shows, or for the most part do good on the numbers. Now you got somebody else throwing a show, a UFC event, Dana throwing an event on a boxing show. Now boxing fans have choices. Boxing fans sometimes are not too loyal to boxing. They'll go and watch a better fight if they think it's a better fight. And vice versa is not going to work for like that. UFC doesn't have to worry about losing their fans because the majority of their fans are legit MMA fans. They can care less about boxing. So I think it affects more anybody in boxing fighting that same weekend than it would affect the UFC.
Right. All right. Well, we lost Diego, so hopefully he hops back in here so we can get his opinion. But let's jump into the fight that we're all here for. So this morning they weighed in. So now everyone, the rules have changed in Vegas. The fighters weigh in the morning, similar to what they do for the UFC. Both the guys weighed in at 167.4 this morning. So we have a fight between these two guys. I think I'd like to start off on the on talking about the jump, talking about Jermell. I mean, we all thought we were going to get Jermell, but we ended up getting Jermell, and he's coming up 2 weight classes. So, Vince, I'd like to start with you as a trainer. You got a guy coming up. He walks around at 180. He's not a small man, and the fact that he can make 54 is amazing. At the same time, because I keep on saying that I think the weight is going to be too much from a boxing sense when it comes to him actually going up and fighting at that weight, which is different than carrying around weight, right? He's got to get in there. He's got to fight. So what do you think about the jump and how that's going to affect Jermell as he moves up 14 pounds and feels the power of a Canelo who's not a small puncher?
Well, he'll know on the night. He feels good now because he's not having to cut weight to 154. But I mean, I had a guy that fought at 140 that would come into camp at 178. So, but he was only effective at 140. You know what I mean? So there's weight classes for a reason, and it's a tall ask, man. But you don't turn down this opportunity because this is a life-changing, money wise for him. He's really got nothing to lose, and so for him. He's got to go in there and I mean, the weight gain, like I said, he's not going to really know until he gets touched in there with those 10-ounce gloves. You know what I'm saying? And because it's different. And the thing is, above the fact that it's a really hard fight because Canelo is still got a lot left in the tank and he's so skilled. You look at their resumes, man, and Canelo has just fought everybody. And he's fought big guys, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, like the way he took apart Kovalev, I mean, and even though Kovalev was a little bit at the end of his rope, that's a legitimate. That guy was a big, dangerous puncher. Canelo is he's been in there with those big guys. So Jermell's got to box. He's got to box. He's got to use his speed, his combination. He's got to hope that we'll see how he reacts to the power. I'm not counting him out of this fight. I'm cheering for him, man. I mean, he's an American, bro. I'm gonna go for. I'm pulling for the guy. Canelo's a hell of a fighter. He's a great fighter, and for him to step up 2 weight classes, I give him all the credit in the world. It's a great payday, and I mean, he gets a chance after being undisputed at 154 to win everything at 168. I mean, he could solidify everything. And at the same time, yeah, it's dangerous. He's fighting the top guy in the world at that weight, and for the first time. So I'm rooting for Jermell, but I'm a realist, and I just believe Canelo's just got too much seasoning for him, I could see it going the distance, and Jermell will have his moments, but once the fight settles in, I could see Canelo really taking control late. But it's going to be a really good fight. I think it's going to be a better fight than people think.
Right. And yeah, just real quickly, since you mentioned it, speaking of the money, I mean, you're talking Charlo has made about $1 million per fight, 700,000 to $1 million. And this one with
Gio would fight Canelo if they asked him to. You don't turn down that fight.
I would get in for that kind of money.
Tasha would look at Terrence Crawford. He's like, there's weight classes. But he said, hold on. You know what I mean? Now Terrence is ready to jump up even more to do that. And, it's what, these guys are all skilled guys, man. They're at the top. They're at the very top. But, we won't know how Jermell feels. He just don't know. He can spar with bigger guys and all this and this and that. But it's different, man. Canelo is Canelo's never really been shook since Cotto's brother shook him when he was a prospect still. You know what I mean? Like, he's that savvy. So if it goes to give and take, Canelo's a master in there, man, and Jermell's gonna have to pull out the fight of his life. But I say, man, kudos, man, go for it, brother, go for it.
Right.
The money's in the bank, and all he got is history, and I think he still retains all his belts at 154. So.
He loses the WBA. WBA is the one that's really strict. If you go up to fight in a different weight class, you automatically lose your belt. So as soon as he steps in the ring,
I don't rate the WBA much. They got like 6 belts in every division and a motherfucking this and a that. And it's but good for him. I love it, man, and I give him all the kudos in the world. Let's go, Jermell. Pull it off, baby. You know what I mean? Pull off the upset.
Gio, as a fighter, what do you think of the weight class thing? I mean, like we've all said, weight class are there for a reason. What do you, from a fighter's perspective, do you think you can move up 2 weight classes? I mean, what do you think of that when you first heard about the fact that he was moving up 2 weight classes to fight?
Well, he has the athleticism to, I think, to an extent, possibly move around the ring and outbox Canelo because he's coming up in weight. He's lighter. But it's a Canelo show, so chances are the ring is going to be very small, probably 20 by 20, 18 by 18. I don't know, somewhere around there. So, there's not going to be a lot of too much moving or anywhere to go. I mean, like I said, you can spar bigger guys in at the gym, but it ain't the same. Headgear, fatter gloves, it's not the same. I don't see Charlo getting respect from Canelo. That's the biggest thing, respect. He has to get that punching respect to get him off him the whole time, because he's going to be probably stalking him the whole fight, or at least the first 2-3 rounds. He'll kind of wait around, see what he's doing, and then he'll start pushing forward without even throwing a fucking punch, just because he's that fucking strong. I mean, I see Charlo. I mean, I only see Charlo winning just if he literally he's on his bike, outboxing him like what's his face, the Cuban cat. What's his name? That fought him years ago.
Lara.
Oh yeah,
that's what Lara. He's on his bike the whole fight. Ba 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 ba. Get out of the way, and then if he corners you, grab him. Wait for the referees to do what you got to do, and then back to it. Ba 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 ba. But I mean, it's a very, very hard. That's a very hard type of fight right there, because you got to stay on your bike, and it's a 12-round fight. And you got a fucking monster on the other side. All it takes is one punch, you know. So, but I'm not saying Charlo can't win, but I'm saying it's gonna be a tough fight.
Justo, what do you see that Jermell has? What are his assets to you that would give him the win?
I think Jermell, he's a dog. I think he comes to fight. He believes in himself. He has all the athleticism. I don't think he has the best footwork, but I do think that he throws enough combinations to where it'll keep Canelo honest. If he goes to the body, keeps a stiff jab in Canelo's face, it could be a very interesting fight. Once again, I think that he just has dog. He believes in himself. Like, he actually thinks he can win this fight. And when you have two guys in there that are not willing to back down and willing to go toe to toe, man, it's an interesting fight, an interesting night, and it's a flip of a coin. However, I believe that Canelo will win this fight. He's going to win this fight because the experience. I think that the amount of pressure, like what Champ said, the amount of pressure that he's going to apply.
Yeah, I think kind of laid out the plan, right?
Yeah,
I
think he has to be on his bike. He has the box. Mm-hmm. He has the box off the back leg. Like, he can't.
Bivol is such a strong guy too, though.
Yeah, big. He can't be there for Canelo to hit all night because he's not going to last. I think if they have a smart game plan, like Champ says, box. When he tries to corner you, you tie him up, you frustrate him. If you can pull that off for who knows, 7 other rounds, maybe you have something that's interesting and he shocks the world. But even though I still don't believe he gets a decision, even if he outboxes Canelo. Canelo's too big right now. He's not going to get that decision. He's going to have to upset him. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm going to play devil's advocate. So I too believe Canelo will win. I just think the weight, like Vince said, there's weight classes for a reason, and that's why I think he's going to win. At the same time, there are a lot of people that have said over the past 2 fights that Canelo's had, and 3 if you go back to Bivol, that he's slipping, that he doesn't throw as many jabs. He sets a lot up off the jab and he's not throwing the jab. In his last fight, he dominated. But everyone was expecting him to knock what's his name out?
John Rudder.
Everyone was expecting him to knock it out, but he didn't. And I think Rudder's a better fighter than, most people gave him credit for. But with him slipping, if he is slipping, I mean, a lot of guys, maybe he didn't rise to the occasion because he thought it was going to be an easy night. I don't know, in his last fight. But I feel like he's going to step up and rise to this occasion because he doesn't want to lose to an American, right? What do you guys? Is there any truth? Do you guys think in him slipping that he's not the Canelo of 3 years ago?
Look, the guy. I look at one thing. I look at damage. He's not really. He fights very smart. His defense is very smart, and he doesn't take a lot of punishment. He may have an off night here or there, but let's not forget that those performances have been up at heavier weights against the elite of the elite. So we have to take that into in consideration. That's one. Canelo's not a beat up guy, I think we got to think about activity and inactivity. Jermell Charlo has only fought twice in the last 3.5 years. And Canelo has been fighting the top-notch guys yearly, 2 a year, 3 a year, unifying, fighting top guys always. So I don't think we've ever really addressed the fact that this is coming off, to fight a guy up 3 weight divisions or 2 weight divisions. I'm sorry. And not be active, and meaning not have him fought in over a year. I think it's been like 18 or 19 months since Charlo fought. And, Canelo's been fighting a who's who. So that's going to be a big factor too, because, coming into this fight, the activity is going to play a big role because Canelo's going to have his timing. It's going to take Jermell a little bit of time. And I agree with Justo. He's got all the athleticism in the world, but he hasn't been in a fight in a long time, especially not with a guy at this level. So that's going to be it's going to be a big ask, man. It's going to be a tough fight for Jermell.
You're on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute, Armando.
Yeah, bro.
How's that? Can you guys hear me?
There you go.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Well, Diego, you missed the part of the conversation when we were talking about weight, and I'm curious, as you as a fighter who've cut weight, who's gone up in weight, what you think of Jermell going up 2 weight classes to challenge Canelo.
Canelo's a beast. He at that weight class, I feel he's still strong and fast. He's gonna have a lot of obstacles to overcome going up to those weight classes. He's gonna feel he's in a different ball game. Towards the end of the rounds, in the later rounds, that's when he's gonna experience. I think the second half of the fight is when it's gonna become something where he's gonna have to make real big adjustments. When you have this solid guy just walking you down and catching you with body shots, because he's a big favorite to head downstairs and work him. That's naturally. I'm sure his corner's advising him, hey, you got to hit something. You got to touch the body. Any professional, any coach is going to give you that, being that the stature of Charlo, being as tall as he is, as long as he is, they're going to have him chop him down. And he's very, very accurate. What I just tuned into right now is a conversation about ring rust. It's a definite thing. I've been rusty. I've been in the fight game long enough to know that, hey man, if you're not active in the ring, fighting constantly, it's a different ballgame when you get in the ring. After a long layoff, you have to kind of get your feet wet again. So this is going to be a big factor when it comes to fighting the undisputed champ.
Yeah, it seems that Jermell coming off the injury, he hasn't fought a lot lately. He's stacked the deck against him for sure. And I'd like to talk a little bit about their face-off at the press conference. A lot of people, they were asking even Canelo about it, because he's not. Charlo is very verbose. He's a guy that talks a lot of shit. He'll go at it. If you talk shit to him, he will talk shit to you. At the press conference, he was extremely professional, or not professional. He's extremely respectful, to almost to the point to where, like I said, everyone noticed that it was weird. My question was it mind games that he's playing with him? Is he just trying not to wake the beast in Canelo? Because Canelo has been known to, if you piss him off, he will hurt you before he knocks you out. When they did the face off, Canelo took off his glasses, then Charlo did that, put his hat on. But it was very, a lot of people noticed that it's not the Charlo that we're used to seeing. He was too respectful. Did you guys see that? What do you guys, Justo, what do you think of that? Did you read anything into that, or is it just fans being fans, or reporters being reporters trying to sell the fight?
No, I actually noticed it. I think it's a little bit of everything that you suggested. I think that he's trying to be respectful, not trying to give him any more fuel for his fire. But at the same time, I think that Charlo, he's trying to turn over a new leaf and be more of a respectful type of athlete, because honestly, he's not my favorite fighter. He and his brother, they're like my least favorite fighters. You know what I'm saying? Because it just seems as if they walk around with bad energy all the time. And it comes off to the fans, and it rubs the fans the wrong way. So I want to root for these guys, and I'm actually rooting for him against Canelo. However, I know the outcome of that fight, but I just think that, to answer your question, I think it's a little bit of everything. And at the same time, he's trying to be more of a pleasant person in the media, and, boost up his PR ratings. Because once again, just go back in some of those interviews, especially when he and his brother were around, other fighters that can kind of egg him on. It just seemed as if the Charlo twins just walked around with bad energy. You could never catch those guys smiling. So I think he's trying to be more of a crowd pleaser, or a people's champ, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, and definitely to Gio and Diego, you know, a lot of that stuff, the fight week stuff, you guys are used to that, right? You know, and the back and forth. What did you guys think from a fighter's perspective of the way he was behaving at the press conference? I thought it was way different. I mean, it was strange.
You can definitely see people's personalities at the weigh-in. You know what you're used to, and then the day of what you get. You know, versus previous fights with other opponents. This is a big fight for Charlo. You know what I mean? Charlo needs this fight to be considered the best. You know, he walks around talking that he's the best, but he needs a fight with Canelo to prove himself. This is the ultimate fight right here for anyone to get in the ring. You know, before it used to be Floyd Mayweather. You got in the ring with him, you had to prove yourself. You know, like he's the guy to beat. Right now, it's Canelo. Canelo's the guy to beat.
Yeah, Gio, what did you think about the press conference and the way? Is it too big of a moment
I just
for
think
Jermell?
that I just honestly actually think he understands the magnitude of this fight and the danger he's in also, meaning that there's a high possibility he can lose the fight. I just don't feel like the rest of the fights he 100% confident. That's why he was talking this shit. This fight, he knows there's a big possibility that shit might not go his way. So he's just trying to be a little bit more serious, that way it doesn't go back to him, after the fight. Um, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
we've all been at the press, like we've been at small fights and then we've been at the mega fights. It's different. From day one you step on the ground, it's different, right? And
Canelo's
so
been doing this regularly.
Yeah.
One mega fight after another mega fight after another mega fight. It's inactivity, man, and being on this magnitude is a different animal.
Yeah.
yeah. And I think
Yeah.
so I feel like the Charlo brothers, both of them, I feel like because they're American fighters, they're twins, they're good-looking guys, they are charismatic on camera. I've always felt that they were under promoted, and the fact that they didn't step up for bigger fights. Not to say that they're not accomplished, but if you look at their resumes, compare them to a Canelo, right? So you have American fighters. Look at what happened when Terrence finally stepped up. He's on Good Morning America. He's on all these national talk shows. He's getting that press, right? Because he stepped up to a fight, and it was at the time a 50-50 fight, and then he dominates, and then he gets all the attention from the press. So Terrence stock, not just to boxing heads, but to average people, went up because all of a sudden the soccer moms who are watching Good Morning America, Terrence Crawford comes on that show, right? And the Charlo brothers, twins, I mean, the opportunity. So for me, like you were saying, Justo, you didn't they're your least favorite fighters, and they're mine as well, because I had so much when they came into the industry. I was like, man, these guys could be superstars if they wanted to be, you know. And I just feel like it's a missed opportunity. They're 33 years old now. I mean, he has the opportunity to beat Canelo and get there, but he hasn't been. I don't feel they've been prepped and prepared. Like he hasn't had another big time fight close to this level with somebody else, right? Like a Terrence Crawford, fight a Terrence Crawford first, then step up to a Canelo, right? So that he steps up and so I feel like I have a little bias against them because I've been disappointed by the way they've been managed in their careers. And now at the end, they're doing a little cash grab, try to get the big fights. But I feel like they're not prepared because of the level of competition. And like Vince, you were saying, they had Canelo has been mega fight after mega fight after mega fight, but he stepped up. I mean, he was what, 22, 23 when he fought Mayweather? He stepped up right there, right? Nobody thought anyone in the industry, nobody thought he could beat Mayweather, but he did step up. And I give him credit for that. And then look at what he's done past that. And I feel like the Charlo brothers never did that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're muted again, Armando. There you go.
Still muted.
Yeah, we can't hear you, dog.
Well,
What's the hand
now you
signal
can.
from mute? Are we all gonna
Right.
do X so he knows? There he goes.
So, Justo, what do you think? Because you mentioned that before. Do you think that their careers at 33 years old, their 20s are behind them? On the retirement is coming close. Do you think that they wasted? That Jermell is not prepared for a fight like this with the record that he currently has.
you know what? That's a very interesting question. I didn't look at it or see it that way until you kind of said it that way. I do think that they're on the tail end of their career. I think that they tried to pull the Mayweather card and become the bad guy before they really became popular, and it kind of failed for them. So I think they didn't achieve the first goal by having the big fight as you're suggesting, and then maybe pronouncing that they're the bad guys and have everyone want to see them lose and pay more money to see their opposition defeat them. But I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head, man. He's 33 years old, and this is truly his biggest fight, and that's saying a lot at 33 for you to be a undisputed champion. I would have, like you also suggested, maybe him take the Terrence Crawford fight and come into this fight as the supreme reigning king. But yeah, I think this could be categorized as a money grab. But once again, I don't want to say that and look at it that way, because Charlo, he's an exceptional talent. He has athleticism. He's a dog. You know what I'm saying? Lions only. All that talk. So he has to walk that walk on Saturday, and that's what's so interesting about this moment. If he does, it'll be his greatest victory. If he doesn't, this will be bad for him. It'll be great for Canelo. If Canelo loses, let's say if Canelo does end up, being defeated by Charlo, I think we can say, well, we kind of expect that because Canelo is at the tail end of his career. But if he beats Charlo, that goes back to answer your question, has Canelo slipped? I wanted to address that. Yes, I think he slipped, but so did Manny Pacquiao. And Manny Pacquiao knocked down Keith Thurman and beat him. So he could be on a totally different level where even a little bit of slippage is better than these guys' best day. You understand? So it's an interesting moment in boxing. I can't wait for this fight.
Diego, what do you think about that and the brothers and their careers, and specifically Jermell? Has his career up to this point prepared him for this level?
I don't think so. I think he's moving. They didn't move him fast enough. Every fighter has a timeline, right? And this is a very good conversation to have right now. I've had this conversation with my brother. I have a brother, right, who was right, just 4 or 5 years behind me, and we all have a timeline, right? Especially in every weight class. Me fighting the lightweight division, my brother in a lighter division, super bantamweight. We have a time frame. Once you start hitting the 30s, man, you get looked at differently. And the fact that people are talking about it, you noticed it, Armando, and you're talking about it. You know what I mean? Now it begins to become the talk of hey, man, you're approaching your 30s now. You're into the 30. Your timeline is limited now on what even a promoter can do with you, right? So in order for Charlo to remain active, he's got to do something big in these big fights. Make it worthwhile. Every fight, every round means something, and you have to showcase it, because we're out there. We're showmen. People are watching. There's so many eyes on us, so many views. So you have to go out there, knowing that, and it is a little bit of pressure. You don't get a second chance, if you slip this time. So I think even the statute of this fight is big, and that may be something that kind of you guys all picked up on at the weigh-in, where he knows it's weigh-in day. It's one day right before the big fight, and it's crunch time. It's like, hey, man, it gets real. for a certain fighter at that caliber, it's showtime, and I think that's where what that moment hit him, where it's like, oh shit, this is the real game. I'm in it. I'll be fighting tomorrow. Everything will be on the line.
Yeah, Gio, what do you think? What do you think about his resume? Does his resume prepare him for a Canelo? Does anybody's resume prepare him for Canelo? Prepare themselves for Canelo?
Well, the issue is his activity. He's fought like not at all in the past whatever years it's been. He's been very inactive, so that can play a major role. I agree with the timeline uh thing, but every fighter's timeline is different. Because I mean, you can go back and look at, for example, Sergio Martinez. He blew up in his 30s, but then you got other fighters that just when they hit their 30s, they went downhill. So this is a chance for Charlo to make it happen. He has to look good. Because listen, even if he loses, but he looks good, he's still gonna win. Because people got him losing tomorrow on Saturday, or tomorrow. They got him losing, period. But if he gives a really, really good fight to the point where he's gonna start having asking people are gonna start asking questions. Well, I thought he won. That's all he needs. He wins because now everybody's gonna know who he is tomorrow. Casual fans will know who he is tomorrow. People that's never watched boxing in their life will know who he is because everybody follows Canelo. Mexican fans follow Canelo. Everybody follows Canelo. So whoever watches the fight tomorrow are gonna be like, okay, well, whoever this guy is fighting Canelo, he's probably good, but not good enough. But then if he gives him a challenge and makes things, interesting to the point where people start saying, well, I don't know who won, or I think he barely won, then he wins. So, he has a lot on the table tomorrow. So, it should be a good fight though, man. I'm always rooting for the underdog, man. So I hope Charlotte goes in there and gets to work. I hope he has a good game plan. And if the first game plan don't work, got a plan B, C, D, because this happened to me before in fights. So you just got to figure it out because it's
Right.
just you fighting, nobody else. Once you're
Right.
in.
Is there anything you guys have noticed that we haven't talked about that gives either guy an advantage? Is there anything that because there's the general conversation that we're having that everyone else is having, but is there anything any of you guys have noticed that may give Charlo or definitely give Canelo an advantage that we have not touched on? Vince, we'll start with you. Is there anything there?
Well, I mean, I just go back to activity. There's a lot of great athletes out there in every sport, and just like and you're right, everybody has their time, and whether or not if they're gonna like turn out to be a star or whatnot, and there's a timeline, too, and I just go back to the resume. It's just going to be a tall ask. I mean, Jermell is probably the better athlete, but we never, he's the way that they moved him has been very slow. That platform has been notorious for that, slow, and they make a lot of money, but you don't fight a lot. And Canelo's just been a pure fighter. I mean, he turned pro when he was really young, and he's made all these steps, and he's just fought a who's who of everything. He's a tall ask for Charlo to go in there and pull it off. Does he have the capability and all the attributes? Yes, but the IQ is kind of far apart because Canelo has fought so many great fighters. I mean, they say about great. I'm talking about he's fought the best guys that have been out there in the weight divisions. You know what I mean? To put anything else aside, he's fought the best guys around, over and over, and Charlo, he really hasn't. So the IQ is really going to be the big telltale sign in the activity, and I think that's what we're going to see. And it's going to show up later in the fight. I think, like I said, he's got to have a plan, and he's got to try to hope that the boxing gods are with him that night. Canelo just has a bad night, or he gets old overnight. You know what I mean? But we go back to mileage. Canelo has a lot of fights, but not a lot of mileage. The thing is about being active, and I'll go right back to that, is you don't have to be in camp for a long time if you're always close to your weight. and Canelo's always close to that weight. So, you know, he just fights a lot. So if you only fight every now and again, your body jumps up to 180, 190, maybe even touch 200 pounds, and you're fighting at 154 once every year in 18 months. You get comfortable being comfortable. Canelo, he goes to camp for 4 or 5 weeks, and he's ready, and because he just does it over and over again. So you're really dealing with a situation where you have a guy that maybe hasn't had his full potential, but he gets an opportunity. And this is boxing; anything can happen. But he's really going up against a master who has been very active.
Mute.
So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Again.
Oh yeah, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
We're gonna give you the X.
There you go. Give him the X. You're on mute.
Oh,
Yep. So yeah, that's the advantage, man. It's just if we could just keep it real. It's a fight. The fight's gonna happen. He's gonna make more money. He's gonna secure his family's future, and he's gonna get a shot. You know what I mean? And what more can he ask for?
what about the rest of you guys? What do you think, Justo? What do you? Is there anything there that we haven't touched on that you see that gives either guy an?
Man, it's just the experience. Canelo has tons of it, you know, but at the same time, he has a lot of mileage, and it's not. I agree with what Coach said, but I also think that, you know, a lot of the, and Gio, maybe you can answer this question. A lot of the hard work is done in training.
Yeah.
And Canelo's had several matches, like 59 fights, bro. 59 of anything is a lot. You know what I'm saying? He's had 59 fights. You know what I'm saying? So that's 59 camps. So at the end of the day, I just think that, you know, the body's is not meant for us to be, you know, beaten and continuously taking these liver punches and, you know, uppercuts. So who knows what can happen? It's boxing, like what Coach said. Anything can happen at any moment. And that's what makes this so interesting.
The only thing with that too is Canelo doesn't. When was the last time you seen him take a beating? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
but at the
he
same
doesn't
time,
take a lot of punches,
but
man.
at the same time, I mean, just let me interject, if you will. At the same time, Canelo gasses out. Like the past 4 or 5, maybe 6, 7 fights, I've seen the same behavior patterns. He gasses out towards the end of the fights, and who knows, bro?
Yeah.
If Charlo could come in there and take advantage of that, what if, you know, Derek James sees that? Another thing that we're not really mentioning is the corners. What do you think about the strategic, you know, plan, the game plans that each corner has? I think that's an interesting conversation as well. Like Derek James, to me, honestly, he has some get back. Like that was an embarrassment with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. You have to do something on this match right here. It can't be another embarrassing loss. So he's probably, you know, sharp as a razor right now, has Charlo on totally on the same page. So who knows, man? That's why it's such an interesting moment for sports right now, bro. Like Canelo's the guy. Charlo claims he's the guy. Let's see who's telling the truth.
Right. I love it. It's gonna be a great one.
What do you think, Diego?
It'll be a good one. I don't know. Canelo has gassed out, and I've seen it. I know what you're talking about. But, I mean, when he was in there with Caleb Plant, he took him out in the 11th round. You know what I mean? So, as far as, like, a fighter who has a lot of fights, he did start out very, very young. You know, so he does have a lot of fights. But, like a Mexican fighter, like, look at Chavez. Chavez had how many? You know, it's all on how you do it. I've had 160 amateur fights. You know what I mean? I had, you know, over plus 30. What is it? 36 pro fights. I mean, I've had a long career. I've had a healthy one too, because I didn't spend my nights in Vegas partying like everyone else did. But you know, it all comes down to the fighter. This is going to be a good fight. I do feel that everyone's going to be on the edge of their feet for the first half of the fight until Canelo starts breaking them down. I feel Canelo wins in the later rounds.
By knockout?
I believe it'll be another. Yeah, I believe by knockout. It could be like a late 11 round knockout.
All right. We got Diego on the record. Gio, so let's just go for it. What do you got, Gio?
I see it. I mean, if I think what Charlo's gonna do is gonna be, I mean, I could be wrong, but what I see him doing is being a fight very similar to the Caleb Plant type of fight, moving, hitting, moving, because Canelo is a very strong fighter. But I do see it in the later rounds, possibly the 9th round on my end. I believe the 9th round, and I actually believe it'll either be a hook upstairs or a hook to the body.
All right, Vince.
I agree with Diego to some extent. Yeah, it'll be exciting. I think Charlo's going to have his moments, I see it'll be competitive early, but I can unless the thing I want to touch on what you said before. If Canelo doesn't respect him, it's going to be how long can he take the heat? Because Canelo's been coming. He's going to be coming. You know what I mean? And if he's not able to touch Canelo and really stop him, then it's going to be something that's going to, the second half of the fight, I'll call it anywhere between 9 and 11, something like that. I can see a stoppage. It'll go that way. But I'm rooting for Charlo though, man. I'd love to see him shock the world, but I'm going to take Canelo by TKO late.
All right, Justo, what you got?
Man, this is terrible. Charlo's getting no love. I mean, Coach gave him a little bit of love, but bro, if I'm a betting man, I'm putting my money on Canelo for simple reasons. Even if Charlo does well, like Gio mentioned, like he could put up a hell of a fight. And if it goes to the cards, I don't think Charlo's going to get that decision. He's not going to get that head nod. He's not. Even if they knock each other down, it could be a draw. He's not going to get that decision. He's just not. He's going to have to
Mexico.
So he's going to have to come in and dominate. And I don't know if he can do that. So
there you go. I think you answered my question. My next question was going to be like, do you think he has the ability to take Canelo out? Do you think
he has the ability?
Knock him out.
He has once again, he has all the athleticism in the world, fam.
He's a very good athlete for sure.
But I don't know if Canelo's just going to allow him to take him out. I don't know if Charlo can do that. And I don't think he can. I think it's going to go to the cards.
Talking about a guy that's never even been down, his career.
Yeah, I think it's going to go to the cards. I say Canelo by majority decision.
Oh wow, that's close. That's close. That'd be interesting. It would line him up to fight his brother after that.
Yeah, coming into this fight week, I figured 8th or 9th round, Canelo will knock him out, right? And then I was having a conversation with after the press conference when I saw what was going on. I had a couple conversations with people in the industry and just started thinking about, like, if he's not playing head games, if he is really nervous, because to me that's the way I took it. This guy's kind of like a deer in headlights.
You're talking about Charlo.
I'm talking about Charlo. Yeah, he's but at the press conference he was behaving like a deer in headlights to me, just based off of seeing fighters and how they act on fight weeks. If he gets in that ring and he is a deer in headlights, I think Canelo can take him out within 3, because you're not going to see the best him because mentally he's already lost. And like I said, I don't know if he's playing head games or not, because he could be just kind of, the playing possum in the fight week. And that's his approach. Change it up. Hey, I'm not going to be aggressive. I'm not going to wake the bear. I'm going to lay low and then come out like the lion on fight night. And I could see that. At the same time, if he is anywhere timid, Canelo's going to smell it. He has the experience. He's going to see it in his eyes. When they do that face-off, the referees, they're finishing the final instructions, and they're looking in each other's eyes. If Canelo sees that he can take this guy out because he's not there, 100%, I think Canelo takes him out in 3. It's a quick night. And if not, and if Charlo is playing head games and he comes out and it's the best Charlo, I still think I think the weight and the inactivity, like if he if he at least had something close to that weight class before, I would put it more in his favor. And then I would also, if he's been active, I would give him more points in his favor. But he's coming in the worst possible way. He's coming up in weight and he's been inactive. And I just think that that's going to be way too much when Canelo connects to the body or connects and, just catches him in something he doesn't see. Even though, say, Canelo's punch count is going down, those punches are powerful. Bivol, a bigger guy, in the press conference said that his arms hurt, and that's his game plan, right? He takes the arms out. He doesn't allow that power to come across in his weight class. Obviously, Bivol's way much bigger. But it hurts, and everybody says Canelo punches hard. So I just think it's too much for Charlo. And what is it? I put the odds up here. So Canelo is minus 420 and Jermell is plus 320. I don't think you're losing money if you put, 100 or $420, you get your 100.
Better off playing the parlay.
Yeah, right. Or
Yes.
whatever
around.
whatever the knockouts for per round, I'm sure you'll make some money that way. So
Yeah.
well,
Interesting fight.
okay, last thing. What
about the undercard? They got a nice undercard. I like that. Ramos and Lubin's a nice fight. That's gonna be a nice fight right there. And Ugos and Barrios, I think they're kind of on the same level. To be honest with you, I think that's gonna be a fucking rock'em sock'em fight right there.
I think
it's good undercard.
It's a really good undercard. I think I'm really looking forward to the Ugos Burroughs.
I like Ramos Lubin. I think that's a war. That's a war. But so is Ugos Barrios. They're really good matches.
I think Ugos Barrios is a very interesting matchup. Barrios, he trains out here in Vegas. I actually saw him running hills at this little park that I do some cardio at. So I'm actually.
Well, they both do, right?
Yeah, I don't know about Ugos. I haven't seen him out here, but I know for definitely.
He lives in Miami, but he trains at Salas.
Salas.
So he trains with Salas out here. So yeah, they both trained in Vegas for this fight.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see the outcome of that fight. But Erickson Lubin, he's let me down on a couple fights, yo. Like, I think he's inconsistent. Like the fight that he lost.
I'm gonna head out, guys.
All right, Diego.
All right, Diego.
Appreciate your time.
Take care, champ. Be safe, brother.
See you guys.
All right, Diego. All right, brother. The fight that he lost to the what's the guy's name? Fortuna? Is that his name?
Fendora.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like he could have pulled that fight out, even though it was a really tough fight. It was like phone booth style fighting. I really looked for him to pull that type of fight out, and he let me down. So I can't say that he's consistent, bro. It seems as if whenever he steps up in competition, he never can get the win. So I can't really think I can't really vote for him as far as this fight right here. I think Ramos is going to take this fight right here.
Yeah, he's rugged, man. I know that kid's people. Abel, his brother Abel, and them, and his dad. He's a senior. I've had them out here for camps in the past, and they're good people, man. They're solid. That kid's coming.
Yeah.
So I like that fight. I think Lubin was kind of spoiled early in his career. I was out there with him in Florida. I remember when they had Mike Tyson Promotions. I went out there, took a guy out to go work with Argenis Mendez when they had that camp out there. Gary Jonas, I think, was the owner of it. It was a gym in Deerfield Beach. But that kid was in there. He was one of their first signings for Mike Tyson Promotions. I think he was 16, 17 years old, leaving the amateurs, and they gave him a bunch of money. So that's a case of a kid that just got too much too soon. And then you saw when he fought with Charlo, and he got clipped right there. It's unfortunate. I think that kid's only 28 years old, right? And he's never really turned out. So that's unfortunate. But this is his last shot. He's got a shot to do it because that kid can whack. But Ramos he's a rugged kid, man, and that's going to be a good fight. That's going to be one to watch for sure.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice when PBC more consistently than I think the other promoters has given better cards. They have better undercards on the pay-per-views.
Yeah, because they only have like 2 shows a year. Shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've definitely come back. They've definitely come back. They need that Showtime money. But yeah, it's great for boxing, as always. These big fights are. I really hope that that Charlo steps up and gives a hell of a performance and challenges Canelo. It'd be nice to see somebody, an American. Like you were saying, he's
Let's go.
American. Can the American take out the Mexican? The Mexican warrior. It's a
Got shot.
it's a tough task. But yeah, it'd be great to see if he could do it for sure. Anything else, guys? You guys want to touch on before we get out of here? It's been a good hour. I appreciate your time. I know Diego had to get out of here. But yeah, like I said, I appreciate you guys coming on. I really do. I love talking boxing. I love talking shop. I love talking about these big mega fights that I've been watching them since I was a little kid, and I always get excited when it's big fight weekends here, especially being in Vegas. I've been over at the MGM all week, so kind of seeing all the signage and stuff like that. And I'm like, damn, I wish I could. I'm actually working, so I'll get off and then I'll come home and watch I'm gonna miss the undercard. So
yeah, I'm working as well.
See a lot of people over there at fight week.
Yeah, you know what? The MGM, I was over in the convention space, and then when I stepped out, I didn't see too many people at that point because it was it was on Thursday when I finally stepped out to see if I can.
Is your Uncle Lou there?
No, Saul's out here though. But no, Lou's back in San Diego. He didn't want to come. He doesn't like the big fights. He doesn't. What is he like? He's 82 years old.
Hey man, the MGM is trashed, bro. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's
the lobby is, man, it's
showing its age. It's
I was out there for Bivol Canelo.
Yeah.
Bivol Canelo. Man, it's definitely it needs an upgrade, that's for sure.
Right. But the fight's at T-Mobile, and T-Mobile is a beautiful arena.
T-Mobile's that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, MGM definitely needs to step it up. They got to step up that lobby because all the big fights, everybody still goes there and stays there. I mean, the Grand is still the Grand, but I'm saying, oof, that lobby, boy. There's some.
Right. It's sold out.
There's some catfish going through there.
Yeah, right. The hotel's sold out, so it's a typical Canelo fight weekend. Everyone's in town, and then there was some tickets coming into fight week, but I think it's completely sold out now. So
man, it's all good, all Mexico.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. Americans Americans have been really into boxing lately. I mean, just based off of what ESPN numbers are doing, like boxing does better than UFC on ESPN. I mean, that's the same platform, right? ESPN Plus, and boxing does better. So this is like a high for Americans in boxing now. So I would not be surprised to see a ton of Americans out to support Charlo. If he yeah, go ahead.
I salute this year in boxing. I think it's been one of the better years that we've had. A couple of mega fights, I think. I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think about Joe Joyce and Zhang, their matchup? Did you guys watch it?
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm. I actually was real familiar with it's actually his name is Jean Gelet, is how you pronounce his name. Interestingly enough, he was with Rock Nation when I had gotten Maurice Hooker with Rock Nation, and that was 2017, and he was one of the first signings of Rock Nation. Dino Duva had brought him over with a couple other guys from China that had fought on the Olympic team. He was one of them. I had actually met him. I think we had fought on the same card a number of times on the Andre Ward undercards when he fought up in Oakland and whatnot. And that T-Mobile, Jean Gelet was always an undercard guy. Big. I remember just thinking, man, what a big dude. And he had pedigree, but they were never able to really move him for some reason. I don't even know the particulars, but he's older. He's like 40 years old, and man, he just put himself right in line. Joe Joyce, I mean, the heavyweight division is pretty anemic. I'll be honest with you, but those guys are he was one of the top guys, and he just announced himself right there. So I think, man, good for him. You know, he definitely shook things up. He's a big boy. He could punch.
Yeah, what is he? 7? He's over 7 feet, isn't he?
No, I think he's like 6'7".
Oh, okay, I thought. I mean, because he is massive. How much does that guy weigh?
I think he was like what is it, about 268, something like that.
Yeah,
man.
I would like to see him and Wilder fight. Both.
Yeah, that's the fight. What about Then they just signed Fury and Usyk.
They did.
For January.
They signed that today for January, and then they said, I heard the talks fell through between Wilder and Joshua.
Why, Coach?
Coach,
why do the negotiations keep falling through? Is it strictly business, or is it?
It's money. Yeah, it's just money. Yeah, it's money. You know, when you deal with guys that already got, you know, a fortune in excess of, you know, 20, 30, 40 million dollars, they're a little bit harder to deal with because everybody needs the money, but they want it to make the same thing every time. You know what I mean? And networks can't afford that shit. It has to be, you know, it's very complicated because there's a lot of hands that are involved in that. And when you're up there in the $1 million negotiations, it's a very fine line where a guy can back out or do what he wants or go a different direction if you have options. You know what I'm saying? But that, in a way, that causes inactivity. Like I'll give you a great example is Andrew Ruiz, for instance. He hasn't fought in a year, I think now, and because he wants this exorbitant amount of money that he had made for this or for this. And what you don't realize is even if you ain't getting that same money, what you're not getting is you're not getting in the ring and you're being inactive. You know, back in the old days, guys like Marvin Hagler, they would fight in between title defenses for less money. You would see on their records, you can go through them, won the title this, 2 months later, he fought a 10-rounder. You're like, what? Well, no, he didn't take his title minimum because he just needed the rounds. If you're not fighting and not active, then you're not a fighter. You're a part-time fighter. Those guys back in the days, and like you said, ring rust, it's better to be in a camp. The camp is what beats your ass. The fight's quick. The camp, the weeks of pounding and sparring and running, that's what beats your ass. You got to make it. I mean, Gio can tell you, you get beat up in the camp. You try to get out of camp without a broken hand, and this and this and that. So the longer you're in camp and the longer you're losing weight, you're basically straining your body and getting ready for a big fight, like a dramatic thing for your body. In the old days, the guys would take less money just to get a fight, and their belt wouldn't be on the line. And then that way they say, fuck, I can be ready to fight anybody in 4 or 5 weeks because I just fought 2 months ago. And I made a little bit of money, so it's a lot about money and greed and forgetting about what really matters. And Canelo, he didn't forget that. Canelo's been fighting, you know what I'm saying? So he's easy to deal with. And that's why, they're not up in each other's face. Charlo's like, why am I going to be mad at this dude? He just set me up for life. So, yeah, man, it's negotiations with these heavyweights is tough because there's so much money out there and they want all of it instead of like looking and being, that's what kills these guys, inactivity. You know what I mean? So that is a factor, man, when they have money. When both parties have money, it's a problem.
Yeah, they needed the Saudi money in order to pay these guys, and I think something fell through with the Saudi money. That's why they're talking about bringing it back to England, but I don't think they have the money to pay. I mean, DAZN doesn't have the money to pay these guys.
Wilder probably told him he wants $50 million to go to England. Something just ridiculous. They're not even champions anymore. Let's not forget about that. They're not. I mean, the championship fight is signed, so that's all that matters. Usyk's fighting Tyson Fury.
All right,
that's it. These guys are trying to make the same money. That to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But
there is a jinx, right? So this goes back to 80s, 90s. I remember we were waiting for big fights and things didn't happen because a fighter gets knocked out right before the big fight that we're supposed to get. And so when they announced the signing of that, I'm like, damn, Fury's still got one fight in between. And I know Francis it should be an easy night for him. but he's got KO power, right? And he's a big boy. And I'm just like, watch Ngannou just come and ruin it for us, because I want to see the unification bout fight. That's what I want to see. I wish Francis would go away so that we could just get to that fight. But the first thought in my head is watch Francis ruin this fight for us. Because they signed it already. They already announced it. It's already out there in the world. And that during fight week, that's all they're going to be asking is about the unification. I don't know. That's my 2 cents. That
guy's going to be out of gas after the first round.
Yeah.
I don't care how he's never boxed before in his life. He's going to be out of gas after the first round, and then Tyson Fury is going to beat the shit out of him.
Right.
For however long he can last. I love Ngannou, but if you've never, I don't care. If you've never boxed before and then you fight the best heavyweight and a guy bigger than you, he's going to be, he'll come in, he's going to be throwing. Oh, yeah, believe me.
And that's all he needs in that division is just one crazy land. And then all of a sudden, shit.
Fury's going to lay on him. He's going to, it's going to take he'll be out of gas. He's going to be, I mean, I don't know. That's how I see that fight. I mean,
yeah. No, I mean, and you're correct. You're correct. That's the way it should go. I'm just saying in the history of the heavyweight division, when we have big fights coming up and there's one in between, how many times have we had fights where just like,
oh, he's a big boy. He could catch him.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying. Just
I mean,
goes out there and wails.
But I mean, everybody. That's the problem, man. All these fights now. All the people are starting to like. I don't know, man. It's hopefully that stuff's starting to come to an end. The Jake Paul stuff and all that.
Right.
Like, no, I feel like that's losing a little bit of steam now. To be honest with you,
Well, yeah, because boxing has stepped up. I mean, look at all the fights we've had this year. This has been the best year of boxing.
People are getting more educated. The average fans are getting more educated, and now they understand a little bit more, hopefully. And it'll just be another thing that happened in boxing for a little while.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's just one of those.
I mean, I don't know what you think about that, Justo.
I think as long as boxing makes the fights that people want to see, nobody would care about the bullshit.
Yeah,
make the fights that the fans and the consumers are interested in. And who cares if Jake Paul and my auntie are fighting next week? Nobody gives a fuck about that. Put out a liable, something.
Well, they start to know he sucks. You know what I mean? Like they understand. Like, that dude sucks. Like, what the fuck?
It's just like, I look at that whole thing. It's just like a lunch yard, schoolyard fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, as hard as you don't want to stop and watch it, you're gonna take a.
And every weigh-in is dramatic. Every weigh-in, everybody's going at each other. That's just getting old, bro. It's like it's not real. Like,
put out great product. Put out great product. We won't care about the bullshit. That's what boxing has to do.
That's
this year should have told us that. We should have confirmed that with this year. We've seen the numbers. The numbers have picked up. The interest has picked up. Look at all the media posts and everything about these fighters. I know Terrence Crawford and Spence, they had posts for like weeks and weeks after the fight. So the interest is there. Make the fight that everybody wants to see, and we'll all tune in. That's just facts. It's simple mathematics.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, it's one of those things where we've been starved for so long, and now that we're getting it one right after the other, it's a great time to be a boxing fan.
I love it.
And one of the things you touched on, Vince, that I hadn't really thought about, Canelo's old school throwback, and he gets shit on for that. And what I mean by is he's taking the big fights, right? But then in between, he's taking these supposedly lesser opponents, but he's staying active. And he gets shit on. It's like, oh, who's this guy he's fighting? Nobody knows who he is. But he's staying active. And then you look at all the other guys, they're just trying to go from big fight to big fight or big payday to big payday to big payday. And they're not, maybe once, twice a year. Jermell.
Well, because they all want too much money. And the English guys and everybody who stepped up to fight Canelo, they fought upon for an agreed amount. And this is what it is. You beat him, your life's going to change. It's not going to change on the first one. He's the man. He's the guy selling the tickets. He's the guy filling the arena, and he's the guy who's earned it. So the guys that fought him or guys that dared, and they made good money. Everywhere with all the English guys, the Riders, the Smith, Caleb Plant, they all went for it. Billy Joe Saunders, but because they were reasonable. The bigger Canelo got, the guys that were around his weight division, like the Charlos, instead of calling him out, when they did call him out, or when they did try to get numbers together, they wanted exorbitant amount of money, I'm assuming, or else Canelo would have fought him. I don't ever see Canelo's ever been really ducking anybody. So yeah, Canelo's smart. While you guys are arguing about what money you feel like you should make fighting me, I'm fighting regardless, and don't matter. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean, because if you realize he's fighting and he's active, he stays near the weight, he stays in shape, his timing stays sharp, and he goes back to camp for 4 or 5 weeks. And it's an enjoyable camp. Maybe he's losing only 10, 12 pounds and golfing part of the time. And he knows his sport because he was just in a big mega moment. He's walking in with Dolce Gabbana pajamas on. He's home because the ring is his home. You know what I'm saying? Because he's used to it. This ain't nothing to him. Now Jermell, he got what he wanted, and now he's here. But guess what? In between the time you could have took a fight here or a fight there, they couldn't afford you. Now you're gonna have to step up and fight a guy that's been, he's been in the party. You know what I'm saying? He's actually been hosting the party.
Yeah.
So
as soon as fighter minimums were introduced in contracts, and from a fighter's perspective, I get it. You want those minimums to fight. But, just talking to everyone in the business, when you sign a contract and you put minimum in there, you can't, in order for the promoter to make money, they have to put you in with someone who's going to generate enough money to pay your purse. And so that's what limits these guys to fighting more often, is none of them will come off their minimums. And
I guarantee any one of these top promoters, if a guy stepped up and said, hey, let's renegotiate, I want to do a 10-rounder, I'll go below my minimum to make the fight, just to stay busy. You ain't got to put in a top guy because you pick somebody I need to be busy. Let me negotiate a 10-rounder in here, because if you say you ain't got nothing for me for another year, then, or we're waiting on somebody or whatnot with a commission or with a sanctioning body, then I still want to fight. So let's renegotiate. Let's get a 10-rounder in there, and I'll fight for less.
And
so
none
I
of
think
them do that. None of them.
no one's thinking, because it's people are thinking about money, too much, instead of thinking about the long-term plan. Everybody wants everything right now, and meanwhile you're not fighting. And then when the big moment comes, I want Jermell to win. He's an American. We're Americans. We beat behind our guys. And by the way, when you go to England and we go to Europe, you learn about this. I had my guy fight for his first world champion in front of 35,000 people in Manchester. And the whole entire neighborhood he was from was there. The guy grew up down the street. Fortunately, we won the fight. But I saw the magnitude of how they followed around everything from the fight week to this, everything. And that was something new. You know what I mean? And so Canelo's been used to that. He's been in this moment. And, as long as you've been active, that means a lot. And it meant a lot for me with my guys, who, once you get to a top level, sometimes you do got to wait because there isn't nothing for you. And maybe you're hoping no one gets injured or whatnot. So you hope to get you hope to get some rounds before you have to go into that waiting pattern, if it's taking a little bit of time to negotiate something. So, but Canelo gets it, stay in the ring, stay active. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think more fighters should think like that. Like, instead of thinking about, hey, always being, just think about being active, being in the ring, and being in camp less.
Right. Okay, guys, we're over an hour now. We're almost at an hour and a half. I could honestly talk boxing all day long, but I know you guys got to get some stuff done. So, Justo, tell everybody where they can find you out on social media.
I'm not the biggest social media guy, but I do have an IG account. You can find me at Jesto, Jesto _ M Mathis, Mathis.
Nice. Vince, what about you? Where can they find you at?
I'm saying I'm not on too much, but IG, I'm at Chief Second. It's Chief and then number 2 ND. And that's on IG, man.
All right, and then Gio, promote yourself, man. You got a big fight coming up.
What's up, guys?
Oh, this is a good fight. This is a good fight.
Instagram, King Gio, or just look up Giovannie Gonzalez, November 4th against Adam Lopez, WBC Eliminator.
Is that a top rank fight? So that's a national card?
It's not a top ranked fight. It's actually a promoter out here. The name is West Side Boxing Promotions. That's we negotiate. Everybody's happy, and it's a great opportunity for me and my team, and we're ready to go.
Congratulations, man.
Let's go, Gio.
Let's go, brother. Fight.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a good fight, man. I invite you guys to come by. It'll be a good fight.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, all the best. All the best.
Are they gonna broadcast it?
I just actually spoke to the promoter this morning. They're negotiating with, I forgot who they said, trying to it'll be broadcasted somewhere. Once I know, I'll let you know.
Yeah, let us know, man.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Hell of a fight.
Yeah,
right on, fellas. Great meeting all you guys, man.
Likewise.
Everybody be safe.
It was a pleasure.
Enjoy the fight.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Yeah, likewise, brother. You guys have a great weekend, man.
All right.
Cheers, bro. Take care.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right.